During the Cold War, the CIA operated deep in the shadows, right? Driven by this constant fear of what the Soviets were up to. But what happens when their most secret, most bizarre files finally get opened up to the public? Well, today, we're diving headfirst into some of the strangest declassified documents you will ever hear about.
And really, this is the question at the heart of all of it. When the normal rules get thrown out the window, how far is too far? As we're about to find out, the answers are often way more disturbing than any spy novel.
So how did this all come out? Well, it started with a bombshell. Back in 1975, a special U.S. Senate investigation, which became known as the Church Committee, released this explosive report. It just ripped the curtain back on decades of CIA misconduct, and this quote right here, it basically set the stage for a massive national reckoning. All right, our first stop in the declassified archives is probably the most infamous of all, the CIA's attempts to literally control the human mind.
Yep, we're talking about Project MKUltra. And let me tell you, this was about way more than just finding a simple truth serum. The declassified charter for the program lays it all out. The goal was to develop drugs and techniques to completely control human behavior. And maybe the most disturbing part, they often tested these methods on unwitting American citizens.
Now, take a look at this document. At first glance, it looks boring, right? Like some standard, stuffy research proposal. But that's what's so chilling. Buried in all that bureaucratic language are these cold phrases like stimulus response research, which was really just code for deeply unethical experiments on people.
And this is where all that research led. We're looking at just a few of the methods from something called Subproject 68. You've got psychic driving, depatterning, with massive doses of electroshock. The goal here was to literally wipe a person's mind clean, to destroy their entire identity. And the files confirm it. This was all secretly funded by the CIA.
You might think MKUltra was some kind of one-off, a terrible idea they had once. But nope, it wasn't even the beginning. A declassified file on its predecessor, Project Artichoke, shows the agency had been chasing this mind control idea for years, experimenting with everything from hypnosis to forced drug addiction.
And just in case there was any doubt about what they were really after, here it is, in their own words. This question, from an internal memo from Project Artichoke, is just bone-chilling. They weren't just talking about getting information. They were asking if they could create a human puppet, an unwitting assassin. This memo basically proves they were trying to create a real-life Manchurian candidate.
Okay, so we've covered the mind-bending stuff. But the declassified files also show an obsession with creating some, let's just say, unconventional physical weapons and spy tools that are almost cartoonish.
You seriously can't make this stuff up. In the 1950s, the CIA actually went out and hired one of America's most famous stage magicians, a guy named John Mulholland. Why? Because they believed the art of deception itself could be turned into a weapon for spies.
He wrote these spycraft manuals for the agency, which, by the way, were thought to have been destroyed for decades. They taught agents how to drug people using sleight of hand, how to send secret signals just by tying their shoelaces a certain way, and even how to hide things in hollowed-out pencils. It was all about low-tech tricks to manipulate human psychology.
But hey, why stop at magicians when you have the entire animal kingdom to play with, right? The CIA's research and development guys, who were apparently nicknamed the Wizards of Langley, started looking at animals as potential intelligence assets.
Take a look at that number, $20 million, in today's money. Now, that wasn't the budget for a whole department. That was the budget for just one of their animal spy projects, which just goes to show you how seriously they took these completely bizarre ideas.
In that project, well, get this. It was called Acoustic Kitty. The plan was to surgically implant a microphone and a transmitter into a live cat, turning it into a walking, purring surveillance device. The declassified report notes that after all that time and all that money, the very first field test ended in disaster when the cat was immediately hit by a taxi.
This kind of out-of-the-box thinking really peaked with their plots against Fidel Castro. I mean, the Church Committee report details this almost comical list of attempts. We're talking toxic cigars, exploding seashells, even partnering with the mafia to get the job done. And spoiler alert, every single one of them failed.
Okay, so if you thought it couldn't possibly get any weirder, buckle up. We are now entering what might be the single strangest file in the entire archive. The declassified documents show the agency's research went way beyond the physical world and deep into the paranormal.
It sounds like something straight out of science fiction, I know. But declassified documents confirm that the agency spent years and a lot of money investigating psychic phenomena, hoping they could turn it into a real tool for gathering intelligence.
It all centered on a program detailed in a 1983 report called the Gateway Process. The theory was that if you used these specialized audio frequencies, you could sync up the two hemispheres of the brain. And if you could do that, you could put someone into an altered state of consciousness, a state that might let them transcend space and time.
And what's really wild is when you actually read the report. The language is incredible. It's not spy talk. It's this incredibly dense mix of physics and metaphysics. The report literally tries to use concepts from quantum mechanics to explain how a person's consciousness could remote view things happening in a totally different location.
But here's the mystery that still has researchers absolutely fascinated. When the Gateway report was finally declassified, one page was famously missing, page 25. The CIA claims it never existed. So, what was on that page? Was it the secret to it all? We might never know.
So the big question is, how did all this crazy stuff, the mind control, the magic tricks, the psychic spies, how did any of it ever see the light of day? Well, believe it or not, it started from the inside. In 1973, the director of the CIA ordered his staff to create a full report of every illegal, unethical, or just plain weird thing the agency had ever done. The result was this 693-page document nicknamed the Family Jewels, basically a comprehensive list of the CIA's darkest secrets. And once that Family Jewels report eventually leaked, the dominoes started to fall, and fast. It led directly to those 1975 Church Committee hearings, which put all of these programs on national television for the very first time. The public outcry was huge, and in 1976, President Ford signed an executive order that explicitly banned political assassinations, a direct consequence of these secrets finally coming out.
You know, from psychic spies to weaponized cats, these declassified files paint the picture of an agency that was operating with almost no limits. The only reason we know about any of this today is because of freedom of information laws and researchers who just wouldn't give up. And all of that leaves us with one final, pretty unsettling question. What other secrets are still out there, waiting in the archives?